Hearst native, how did it feel to eventually get back here?
Yeah, excited to be home. That was obviously part of the decision process when Coach reached out about this opportunity, and spent 12, 13 years, I guess now, all over the country. So excited to be back home. Obviously had a chance to work with Coach Lashley about 10 years ago. Was really impressed with just him as far as a quality coach, even better person. So I think we have a great staff. Staff that I think in a short amount of time has already gelled really well together. So yeah, definitely excited to be back.
Your defense at Liberty was top 20 in 4 different categories and top 30 in a couple more. Scheme-wise, what makes your system work?
Well, I think at the end of the day, players make plays. So let's start there. It's our job to put them in position to make plays, but players make plays. So that's where it starts, is obviously recruiting, and that was a 3-year process for us at Liberty to when we got there to what we inherited to where we ended up the last couple of years. So I think first starts at with evaluating our talent, finding places for the guys in this roster currently to be able to fit into our scheme, but also being flexible. I think one thing when you come into a job, you've got to adapt a little bit to what you have. We'll have some strengths in some areas. We'll have some areas that we want to improve and continue to get better. And so finding guys that can fit those spots and fit those roles is huge. And I think that first year is probably the hardest, just from a transition standpoint, new scheme, but also trying to figure out where we can fit the pieces best within our defense to utilize guys and put players in positions to make plays. So, I think we've done a good job of that. I think limiting explosive plays has been something that's been really big. Getting opposing offenses behind the chains on early downs. I think that's a huge part of the game nowadays. Is how do you get them behind the sticks where we can be in third and manageables. And I think all those aspects go together to form good defenses. But I think at the end of the day, first and foremost, it's about getting 11 guys to play together, to play hard, to be physical. To be on the same page, buy into coaching. Those things, those aspects of football haven't changed. The fundamentals, getting off blocks, tackling. If you don't do those things, it doesn't matter whether we play man free, cover 3, quarters, cover 2, you name it. We got to do the basic foundational things. So, I think we've got some really good players here that I'm excited to work with, and we'll continue to build and try to add to that. To try to raise and elevate our level of play here. But I'm excited to go through spring and see where we're at. I know they're working really hard. I've been impressed with just their work ethic in a short amount of time here. And I think they're pushing to compete right now in the weight room with Coach Grizz and those sorts of things. So excited and eager to go through spring with them for sure.
Hey, Coach. Billy Embody with On3. Thanks for doing this. What do you look for on the recruiting trail, as you overlook, all your defensive targets, prospects? What do you identify that are keys for guys that have to play in your defense?
Well, every position is obviously different. I think first off, it's addressing immediate needs as quick as we can. Immediate needs where we're trying to make sure we elevate our game for next season. But I think also you have to balance. It's a world right now with this transfer portal. I think it's good and bad at times. I want to be a part of building a program for the long haul. I think a lot of people can go in somewhere, hey, take a couple transfers, win quick, but to do it for a lengthy period of time, and we're at a great place. Obviously I'm biased, I'm from here, but what young man wouldn't want to go to school that's got the academics that we have, that's in a city like this? So I think first and foremost, when you talk about building a program, you're talking about taking high school kids. You're talking about taking kids that we can grow and develop within our program. But also addressing if we need to take a transfer for an immediate need. We graduated multiple linebackers when I got here. That was one of the first things, and we've got some guys in this roster I think have a chance to be really special this year. But we felt like we needed to bring in some guys too that had played and or felt like could elevate that room maybe earlier than a high school player. So specifically, the first thing is it's hard to coach guys that can run. That's we can get them stronger. We can get them a little bit faster, but generally fast people are fast. If you're not fast coming out of high school, you're not going to be fast in college. So I think first and foremost you want to look at speed and speed kills, and And I think, not looking at guys in a box, but understanding, maybe a guy's playing wide receiver and safety, he can play, grow into, a college linebacker, try to be able to move guys down and project guys. I think is a huge part of it. But there's so much talent, just as you guys know, just in the Metroplex alone. And I think we're as good as any school around here. So, yeah, that's kind of my short answer for you.
Scott Symons from the Athletic. Curious, what is the most important parts of being able to be successful defensively when you're on the opposite side of an offense that's explosive, that can play with pace and things of that sort of thing? So what are the traits that you value defensively in able to get that part done?
Not giving up big plays, number one. I mean, that's, tempo offenses, explosive offenses, like you're saying, that's based on big playability. So being able to play, layered defense with depth in the defense. So if something does pop, it's not a 25-yard play. And then, like I said, you get them behind the chains on early downs, and you got to get up the field on third downs. When you play teams that are explosive, that are tempo-based, if you can make them go the length of the field and then be efficient on third down, you'll always give yourself a chance. Play good red zone defense. But we try to build a system where our kids can play fast on defense too, and be able to match that same tempo and aggression as well.
How many guys, obviously you want to be at a place where you have enough depth to roll enough guys. On an ideal Saturday, how many guys do you want to be playing defensively?
25 plus, yeah, for sure. I mean, 9 to 10 on the D line, 4 to 5 at linebacker, 5 to 6 on the back end, safety wise, 3 to 4 corners. So yeah, you're looking at close to 30 guys if we're doing it right. Now is that ideal? Year one, we'll see. I think the good thing sometimes, for players, new staff, fresh starts, there might have been guys in the doghouse for whatever reason. Maybe there were young guys that just hadn't had a chance to develop yet. That so spring and the spring and the summer, will tell. And I think a lot of times, guys that are 18 years old, they come in, and especially as a young coach, you judge them really early. Well, they can play or not play. We'll give them time and let's develop them and coach them, and let's see what they can do. And so, I'm excited. Hopefully, there'll be some guys that maybe haven't been productive in the past that we can find a role for. Because although we have great players, they're all competing for jobs still. It's a new defense, it's a new scheme, so we have to come in, and it's our job to put our best players on the field and find a role for them. That's our staff's job. And but I'm excited to see different guys be able to get out there and compete this spring. To me, this spring's not about installing the whole system, the whole defense. It's let's focus on building it the right way. That's what I told the guys. Like, if we get 50% of the defense in this spring, that's fine. We had 4 practices the year we had COVID and didn't tackle one time in spring, and I think we tackled once in fall camp and won 10 games. So, it kind of changed my thought process on things. It's about coaching and us being able to clearly articulate to them what we're wanting to get accomplished and develop those techniques and fundamentals within the framework of our defense.
Joseph Boyd from the Dallas Morning News.
Yes,
Just tried to introduce myself last time. Obviously, you bring Ricky Hunley with you as well. I guess when your decision was made to come to SMU, how quickly was that a focus of trying to get someone from your staff with you and get Ricky here?
Yeah, I mean, anytime you have continuity, Ricky and I have worked together for going on 8 years, I guess now. From West Georgia, 3 years there, where we had some great runs to briefly at Incarnate Word, and then back together at Liberty for the last 3 years. So he knows our whole system. He's a really good coach, an even better person. He's a great father, husband. Players really relate to him. He can coach guys really hard, but can relate to about anybody in the building. I think he's really, really special. A guy that I think will have a chance to be a head coach possibly down the road someday. And so I think that highly of him and our relationship together. So yeah, it's huge. That was obviously the first priority for me when Coach did offer me the job and I did accept it, was to try to get at least 1 or 2 guys that were familiar with our system. So
You've been DC at other places, Arkansas State, West Georgia, Liberty. How are you most different as a coach now from the first version, which I guess was Arkansas State?
Arkansas Tech. Yeah.
Or excuse me, Arkansas Tech.
I think as you get older, I think as a young coach, everything's go, 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 especially in this profession. I think you learn how to try to slow down a little bit, probably kids over time. have 4 kids, so that probably changes your thought process. Not that there's times where we don't have to, you know, it is a fast-paced profession, whether it's recruiting ball, but just being able to slow down and I think take your time as you go through and think things through. And I think, you know, when you're around different people, I think, yeah, I've been blessed to be around some really good coaches. You know, last year, Jack Curtis was on our staff. He was the DC at Tulane for, you know, 5 years. Corey Batum was on our staff the year before, who's the DC at South Alabama, who was at Hawaii and Ole Miss with Coach Freeze. So some veteran coaches, as well as, you know, a majority of our defensive staff that we have worked together for a long time. But I think, you know, just being around different people, different experiences, seeing how different ways work for other people, and not being rigid in a box, but being able to be flexible. And I think that's something you have to do nowadays with offenses, with, you know, just the current climate that we're in, you know. So I think that's probably more than anything, learning how to slow down and take it one step at a time, and then just be flexible, be ready to adjust, because that's the job of the defensive coordinator, right? So.